Okay, so we do two different methods for storage. We do what's called the plastic wrap method, and we also do the peat moss method. Both have really good success. The only benefit over the plastic wrap method is that, for one, the plastic is really cheap, where peat moss is a little bit of an expense. And you can store a lot in a little area with the plastic, but since we didn't want to hedge all of our bets on one method, we chose to do two. So I'll show you how we do both of those. Okay, so if you chose to divide your dahlias in the fall, like we've done here, here's our divisions. They've dried out just a little bit. You don't want them to be like shriveled up, but you want it to be like the outside skin on a potato, just a little bit dry. So what we would do for that, for this method, pull out a little bit of plastic and literally just put a tuber right in there, and you just do one roll so the next tuber is not touching the one that you rolled before. Another roll, and we'll do, close to 10 tubers in each one of these rolls. And you just kind of place them in, making sure that they're not touching each other. Keep rolling them. And once you get about 10 or so, you can cut it off, and we use a little bit of flagging tape and a Sharpie to label it all. So one important thing to note with the plastic method is when you're done and you've got it all pulled away, we don't squeeze the ends. We want to make sure there's a little bit of airflow. If you squeeze it and there's no airflow at all, it's going to keep all the moisture in, not allow it to breathe, and there's a high potential for tuber rot. So we found the best success leaving the ends open. We don't squeeze them, just roll it, and how it naturally stays loose on the end is perfect. And then store it in an area between 50 to 40 degrees. It cannot be too warm, can't be over 50 degrees. If it's like around 60, the tubers will almost always rot, and if it's too cold, they'll freeze. And once they freeze, there's no amount of hope that will make them come back. Okay, so let's talk about the method of not dividing in the fall and storing your dahlia tubers. So here we have a mass that we've dug, we've washed, it's not divided. This method is super easy. One of the benefits about this, like I've said, is if you put the clump right in like this in the spring, you'll be able to see where all the eyes and all the new shoots are coming off. So all we've done here is put a little bit of peat moss in the bottom of a 5-gallon pail. You can use a Rubbermaid bin, doesn't really matter. Put your tuber right inside there on that peat moss bed, and then just cover it with peat moss over the top of it. And depending on the amount of space that you have, you could do a whole nether clump in there as well, as long as they're not touching. That's key, because if one rots, you don't want it to affect the other one that's in there. And this method also works with dahlias that are divided in the fall. So you can use the peat moss method, lay them all in there, and kind of like lasagna style, lay them all out in a Rubbermaid bin, put another layer of peat moss on top, lay them all out, and you can get a lot in a bin that way. Make sure you label it, and you'll be ready for the spring. So these are the two ways that we store our dahlias. We've had really good success with it. Make sure you put a top on these and secure these so that critters don't get into them over the winter. But I think if you follow these steps, you'll have great success and a great dahlia harvest the next year.